How are we going to rate this movie a classic? I got 2 words for you. Impossible.
Hey, nothing's impossible, Francisco. Improbable, unlikely, but never impossible.
I hope you're right for this episode of the Retro Rewind podcast.
Thunder Road 3 now online. How can I help you travel through movie space-time today? Course entered. Super Mario Brothers, 1993. Is this correct? Course set. Rewinding in 3, 2, 1.
Strap your belt on, kid. We're going in.
Welcome, Rewinders and new listeners, to the Retro Rewind podcast, where we take a fresh look at movies and games from 15 or more years ago. I am your captain of the former pod, now the TR3, Francisco Ruiz, and I'm joined by your XO and mine, Paul, the PaulJPowers.com plumber Powers.
Hey, it's a pleasure to meet me. I mean, you.
Wow. Yes, it's a pleasure to meet me too. Also, for this discussion of the film Super Mario Brothers, we welcome back aboard ship's clergy, Dustin Warford. Hey, Dustin.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing well.
Good.
And Dustin, this is actually your 6th time flying with us.
Woo-hoo!
So you know what that means?
Promotion time?
You get a promotion. That's right.
Hey.
So you're
I'm
promoted
waiting
to
like 5 years for this promotion.
You're promoted to chief clergy, so congratulations. Double the responsibility and pay. So, I mean, that's got to be something, right?
Clergy gets paid so much. I love it.
You only work 1 day a week, so...
That's it. That's it.
And also, alongside Dustin, we welcome back clergy officer, Dallas Mora. Hey, Dallas.
Hey, what's going on?
It's things. Dino-hattan is what's going on. And now that you have a quick flyby of who we are, Paul, can you give us a quick overview of the production specs for Super Mario Brothers?
Sure. Hey, paisanos, it's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. It was released September 4th, 1989, and is rated
Paul?
TVY7. It runs...
Paul?
Yes?
That sounds like the cartoon you're talking about.
Each episode runs about 30 minutes. It's directed by Dan Reba.
All of
with
them
lead
were
stars
directed by
being
Dan
Lou-
Reba, huh?
Lead stars, by Lou Albano, the wrestler, and Danny Wells, the guy who actually looks like Luigi.
Paul, I
Yeah?
realized that was a Super Mario Brothers on-screen property. We're talking about the movie that was released in 1993.
Oh.
That could have been brought to my attention yesterday.
We talked about it just the other day.
Let me go back and watch. All right. Hopefully this is the right one, because this one was, woo! All right, Super Mario Bros. Period. Released May 28th, 1993, runs an hour and 44 minutes.
That's
It's
the
rated
one.
PG.
Thank you.
Oh, good. It's directed by 2 English people, Annabelle Jankel and Rocky Morton, and it was written by a bunch of people, but we'll give the credit to Parker Bennett, Terry Runty, I guess, Ed Solomon. He wrote Bill and Ted with his partner. And the lead stars being Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo, Demis Hopper, and a couple more people you may or may not recognize, with music composed by Alan Silvestri.
Ooh, so this music's probably as good as Back to the Future, right?
If not better, because it's afterwards. He's had a chance to improve.
Ooh.
All right, so you ready for the box office trivia?
I am ready. Are you guys ready, Dallas and Dustin?
Let's do it.
Let's go for it.
Awesome. And everyone here live in chat, Bobo, Killer, Instruction, welcome. You're all welcome to join in as well. Paul, go for it.
Let's go. All right, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, but not really movie in the title, was made for about $42 million and earned only about $20 million in the box office. So given this fact, how high in the box office do you think it ranks among the movies released theatrically in 1993? We'll go for the top 93.
Well, okay. All right. Let's start with Dallas. What's your guess?
I'm going to say 72.
72. Why 72? Just
I would
number that
normally
came to
go
you?
42, but knowing history, that's giving it too much.
Too much credit. Fair.
Well, actually, Okay, never mind. I was about to say it wasn't taken, but it just now got taken.
Oh, yeah. Killer guess 42. Bob will guess 92. Not Paul. Dustin, what's your guess?
I'll say 75.
75. Okay. I am going to I'm going to say 81.
Wow, no one guessed below 50. Okay. Well,
you
sorry.
mean above
Not
50.
with a $20 million.
Yeah.
No.
Killer did. All right.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Good point. So, Paul, where did this actually end up?
I need a sound effect whenever somebody gets it right on the head because somebody did it.
Ooh.
It's 75.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Oh, good job, Dustin. Well done. Well done.
Sir.
There you go.
It's the closest
That's a
thing I
good
have.
sound effect. Yeah.
That works.
Well, thank you for those factoids, Paul. And let's see if any of them factor into our memory mind melt or subsequent roundtable discussion, which we will get into once Travis has located our target film.
Alert. Alert. Target located. Spoilers incoming. Establishing analysis vector.
Hollywood Pictures. When you jump to the next level with the Super Mario Brothers, you've got the action. You've got adventure.
You got a problem with that?
You've got the power.
Whoa, cool.
Where the game ends,
It's incredible.
the adventure begins. Super Mario Brothers, rated PG, parental guidance suggested. Starts Friday, May 28th.
You know what? I seem to, that really brings back some memories. Not so much about the movie Super Mario Brothers, but I feel like that's the same announcer that does, now you're playing with power, superpower, but I could be wrong. It just sounds eerily similar to me.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. But let's see what our memories of this movie were in our memory mind melt synopsis of Super Mario Brothers. Daisy's dino digging department discovers Jurassic Park, the lost world under New York City. Eddie Valentine and Sid from Ice Age are trying to make their way as successful plumbers in New York when suddenly they are sucked into the worst video game adaptation of all time to rescue the fairy from Fern Gully from King Koopa, Hopper, to a place with no toads, no turtles, and shells, no real Bowser, and giant not Goombas that can't be jumped on. Pop quiz, hotshot. A lizard king has taken your girl and has a secret plan to invade your world. What do you do? What do you do? Shoot it in the leg. So Mario and Luigi Mario are use super scopes to de-evolve Koopa and rescue the Mushroom Kingdom with a teased sequel that never happened. There was some of that in there that was right, but I'd say on the whole that was decepted. But based on those memories, as flawed as they were, what range did they lead you to predict for this movie before you rewatched it? A classic, nostalgic, or tragic? Let's start with Dustin. What was your prediction for Super Mario Brothers?
I don't ever remember having a harder time making a prediction for a movie.
Really? Oh, wow.
Well,
Yeah, I can see that.
Someone commented already when we were talking earlier about this, like how they something about watching it and just their memories. And I was thinking, all right, I remember watching it as a kid, and I remember liking it as a kid, but I remember absolutely bashing it for years. And so I was trying to think, would I think this is a nostalgic movie? Like, yeah, if you watch as a kid, go back and have fun watching this horrible movie, and you may have fun watching a horrible movie.
Oh, okay.
Or would I just say, no, it's trash. Just don't go. The new one just came out. Stick to that. Stick to
Oh,
one.
yeah.
So,
Sure.
So I was actually torn on my prediction, but I predicted tragic. I went back and said, I think I spend more time bashing this than I do saying that I had fun with it.
Totally fair.
Good call.
Dallas, did you bash this in your prediction?
No, I didn't bash on my prediction. I was trying to remember what I did for the bottom shelf because I can't remember where we placed it on that. I'm giving it a nostalgic.
Nostalgic as well,
we were talking before. I have some very real nostalgia feelings for this because of how I saw it originally, and I feel like I remember going, "Oh yeah, this is a terrible movie," but I had fun.
Yeah.
Paul, how about yourself?
Kind of similar. I saw this in the theater. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it.
Okay.
And, wanted to see it again. Like, was it as bad as people said? So but again, not a real desire to go back and watch it again. So I went nostalgic down the middle.
Nostalgic down the middle. Awesome. For me, I was not as generous, and I predicted tragic for my prediction because I didn't remember wanting to go see this again. I was like, well, we have to cover the podcast. I guess I'll watch it. But I wasn't looking forward to it. What was that?
I said begrudgingly, huh?
Exactly. But it'll be interesting to see if those predictions pan out. But first, let's get into the things we liked most about Super Mario Brothers.
Best bits.
Not movie, but it is the movie.
Yes, the 1993 film adaptation. We'll go with that. So to begin, Dustin, what's one thing you liked about this film?
All right. What's funny is you guys kind of mentioned the guy who wrote the soundtrack earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the soundtrack for this movie.
Okay, nice.
I did when they were doing the chase scenes. Actually, the cars are driving and flipping all over.
Yeah.
The soundtrack. I don't know if it's the same guy that did it though, but I covered "Honey, I Shrunk the Kids."
I was just about to say it sounded very Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and I think
very much like "Honey, I Shrunk the Kids."
I want to say Alan Silvestri.
They're doing all the invention stuff.
Yes.
I had that same tone for sure. Yeah.
When they were driving the cars and things were exploding, I was like, "Oh, this sounds like Wayne Selinsky's background music as he's doing all of his work," and it made me smile. I thought this is fun. All the background sound effect stuff, I really did enjoy.
You know, it also reminded me some of his other works, and one of his songs that he did sounded a lot like one of. See if you can recognize this one.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, sorry, that wasn't Alan. Sorry.
Wow, Paul. Any excuse? So, interesting. So the music for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was actually done by James Horner, but it definitely
has that
like
same feel.
Yeah. Which Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was in '89, so there was plenty of time to be inspired by it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say steal, but good call.
Inspired, quote unquote.
It's an homage.
Exactly. Yeah. You should be thankful, James Horner, except you're dead, but still. Okay, so you like the music. Very nice.
I did. Yeah.
Dallas, what was pleasant to your ears about this film?
Yeah. So. Some of the humor actually lands for me. I genuinely laughed at certain point, like the part where they're in the elevator and they're make the Goombas start swaying and dancing.
You know what? I gotta speak up because so many people I've heard trash that scene, but that is the one scene that sticks out to me the most.
Why?
Because it's like, how do you get out of this? And to me, as silly and stupid as it is, it makes sense.
No. You know what would make more sense? Stomping on their heads.
No, they're too big.
I love the elevator scene.
Yes, I do.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
But I love that they start dancing again towards the end.
Yes.
And then even the shout out on Koopa's radio, the Goombas are dancing again. He's like, tell them to stop it. It's just like, that was honestly for me one of the best parts.
Oh my goodness, you guys.
It's so funny.
Okay,
if I had to pick a scene to be my classic maker, that would be a contender. As silly and stupid, I get it. It doesn't. It's just fun.
Oh my goodness! So
look at the laughter it's bringing us now, just talking about that one scene.
What was that one of your likes on Paul also?
Way down on the list. Not that far down, but down on the. But my top three. My number 3 spot would be the practical effects.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
The makeup that was used and the setting. But I want to talk about Yoshi because that puppetry. What's amazing about this is that it's all practical. That little dinosaur.
Yeah, and it's weird because part of it looks CG, but I was surprised to read that was all practical.
Right,
yeah.
and it took 9 puppeteers to control it off the side.
Oh wow, no kidding.
So. And to me, it's like when you hear that Steven Spielberg was going to make Jurassic Park practically without CGI, what would that look like? I think this
some
was
of it practically.
Well, yes, but even those practical ones, I mean, had some CGI on it. But it's kind of like the T-Rex, that's a lot. But all the dinosaurs were going to be like this. And I think this is a good indication, Yoshi, here, what that would have been like to see. So it's kind of fun to see what that was. So I enjoyed the practical effects in this.
So, like, speaking about Yoshi, that whole thing, Celeste and I, we have a love for just like cute little animals and stuff like that. We got stuffed animals and stuff, and like we legitimately cannot drive past PetSmart on adoption day because I may come home with an animal. So because I saw Yoshi, we're like, oh my god, that's adorable. Like, it was just a cute thing, but like the practicality of it was like, you're like, is this real? Like, it was pretty amazing how they did that.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Okay, so then that leaves me for something I liked. I actually, I don't know why, but I thought it was enjoyable to see Lance Henriksen, who plays more popularly Bishop in the Aliens movie, as the king of the Mushroom Kingdom at the very end. I thought that was just fun.
The robot dude.
Yeah, the robot dude.
From Aliens.
I was like, wait, is that him? And it was.
That is him. I didn't recognize him because he's older and he has all that stuff on. But that is him. Yeah.
So that was cool. So that's something I liked.
Yeah.
If I could ask a question about that whole thing with him being the king, what his name? All right. So he's King Bowser.
What?
Now that's his name. Is King Bowser?
He's listed as King Bowser.
Lance is listed as King Bowser for some reason.
They say that in the movie. They call him
in the movie.
Bowser.
So there's King Koopa, which is Dennis Hopper,
right?
And this guy, Daisy's father, is listed as King Bowser in this movie.
Don't get me started on my tragic maker yet. We will get names and stuff when we get there.
I was just wondering if he understood why they were like what they thought was going to happen, but okay.
I can tell. I can save it for later, but I have a theory.
Let's save it for later.
All right.
Save it for my tragic maker.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do.
Dustin, what won't you save for later because it's something else you liked?
Something else I did like that I didn't know if I was going to feel it again. I did smile through a lot of this movie.
Oh, really?
I thought they did a good job setting the tone of just fun. They want this to be really, really fun.
Yeah.
I think they nailed that. Even amidst all its flaws that we'll get to, I did think it had a fun tone, and I did enjoy the watching and the smiling, and some of the nostalgia feels did come out with. Oh, I remember seeing it as a kid and playing the game, and even though there weren't tons of game references, future dislike heads up there. There's just. I will say they established a tone for the movie, good or bad, however you take it, and they carried that tone through the whole thing.
That's right. That's true.
Speaking of tone, I found out it. Okay, the set design. When I talked about practical effect, the set design. If you took Pee-wee's Big Adventure and you also took Blade Runner and married them together, this Underground City would be that, and that's who they got. The same set designer worked on all three movies.
Oh, really?
So,
oh, wow.
All right.
There's a reason why it looks that way, and he did his job.
Craziness. Yeah, I guess he did his job. Dallas, do your job and tell us one more thing you liked.
So one more thing I liked that was not my classic maker.
Yep.
This is a dumb one, but like I appreciate that Mario was a competent plumber for the most part.
Oh yeah,
like,
totally.
Like where like he's like, hey, I need this. Like he actually used his plumbing skills throughout the entirety of the movie. And
unlike the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Yeah, or
at least the cartoon version, not that live action. But yeah. Go ahead.
But like normally it's just like most you have a picture of him with a plunger and that's it.
Yeah.
And then like he's just traveling through pipes. And I remember as a kid going, why is he a plumber? Like, you don't do any plumbing in this whole. You're going through pipes. That's about it. And so,
well, so did Popeye in his arcade game, but you don't call him a plumber.
So I was always confused about that. So I appreciate like they put the world, or they built the world around the character of a plumber.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say it was Mario, but a plumber, and going on this adventure and using those skill sets, and it made sense the way that they did it. It wasn't like they just ham-fisted some stuff into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, watch out! You can get arrested for being a plumber in this movie.
Apparently you can. Speaking of Mario as the plumber, my like was actually I thought Bob Hoskins was such a perfect casting to play Mario in this
he
film.
did a great job.
I thought that, I thought it was, I mean, I'm not from New York. I don't know if that was an authentic Brooklyn accent. It just sounded like he was doing his Eddie Valentine, but that works for me. So I was happy with it.
He wasn't using his English accent,
That's
which
true.
helped.
Yes. But yeah,
that's
I thought
what matters.
he seemed competent. He seemed like the Mario. I felt like he was a bit sidelined as the hero to make Luigi the hero, the more of the, I don't know, the more of the protagonist, if that makes sense, than Mario.
They had equal time, but that's
yeah, and they are the Mario brothers. But
he played the straight man for the majority of the movie.
maybe that's what it was. Yeah. So I really liked Bob Hoskins. I thought he was perfectly cast as Mario.
Yeah, it's too bad that Bob Hoskins, may he rest in peace, said that this was the one role that he played that he wished he could erase.
Lots of people, I was reading IMDb trivia, had a bad experience, mainly with the directors for this film.
There's a lot of but
we'll get into that with my Tragic Maker stuff later.
But do you know Bob Hoskins was not their first pick? Do you know who was? A little bonus.
Ooh, let me think. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, somebody short and round.
Danny DeVito.
Yes.
Oh, I could see that. That would have been.
Good.
I think that would have worked.
Yeah.
Nice. Paul, that leaves you though. You didn't get Danny DeVito. What did you like though about this movie?
So the second thing, the first one thing I listed was the practical effects. The second thing I'm going to list is the visual effects.
Oh, okay.
Now,
like all the
a lot of
particles
times,
and things.
Yes. A lot of times, some of these older movies, the visual effects are in my dislikes. But that being said, this movie laid the groundwork for the particle effects that are still being used today. A lot of from what I've read, a lot of the coding and everything is based on the technology that they created for this movie.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
We wouldn't have what we have today, theoretically, if it weren't for this movie.
Much like we wouldn't have the Mario Karts we have today if we weren't for Super Mario Kart.
Yeah.
That's a callback to the last episode. It's in the universe. I thought it made sense. Jeez Louise.
Sure.
Dead air. All right. Now that we've all gone through our the things we liked, let's talk about the things we liked most, our classic makers for Super Mario Brothers. I'll go ahead and start. And I actually thought Samantha Mathis was so delightful as Daisy. I just liked her so much in this. I felt like she was very, she really just fit the role of Daisy just as much as Bob Hoskins fit the role of Mario. She was so likable, and I thought she just played the part so well. So
absolutely, I was disappointed I didn't get to see more movies with her in it because I enjoyed her so much in this one. I will say, I'll be the jerk who calls this out.
Okay.
And towards the end of the movie, when she's all quote unquote dolled up, more like a princess,
I didn't really care for that.
I would have left her and dumped her for the Daisy at the beginning of the film.
Yes. Absolutely.
Or the one that comes back at the end saying, hey, there's trouble.
You're not going to believe this.
Yeah. Whoever was in the makeup and designing and that other part, fire them.
Well, it's supposed to be something that looks good to Dennis Hopper's eyes or King Koopa's eyes.
But even still, they did her wrong is all I'm saying.
I think that was on purpose. I think storytelling that was on purpose. Like, because what's her face was involved with that.
Oh, also. Yeah. I could see that.
To show that she's out of place, so she doesn't belong?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I don't like it.
I don't think we're supposed to.
Well, Paul, what did you like the most?
Going off what you said, Francisco, with Bob Hoskins and Daisy, what's her name? Samantha Mathis. Yeah. It's just the cast. I thought it was a great cast. Everybody, I think, did a great job for what they were given.
Yes.
But even down to like Iggy and Spike and like all the people I thought did a great job. And for me, that's really what makes this movie is watching them play these characters. So I just I got to give it up to the cast and them my classic maker.
Okay, awesome. Dallas, what would you cast in the mold of your classic maker?
So I'm going to agree with. I love the casting. For again, like what you guys said, for what they were given was great. But for me, honestly, what I love the most is the dystopian world that they built. I'm a fan of dystopian movies and stories, and I thought that the world that they built was fascinating. We talked about with over at the bottom shelf that like it feels like a version of Blade Runner at times. Like it's a steampunk, cyberpunk, dystopian world this entire time with the cars and everything. And I loved it. I appreciated it. I thought that there was the set design gave texture to this not Super Mario Brothers movie. And me and my friends have often said over the years, if you remove the Mario moniker, you actually have a really interesting dystopian movie that
sort of a more lighthearted dystopian movie.
Sure, absolutely. So we enjoyed that portion of it.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. How many lighthearted dystopian movies are there? Not many.
Not many.
Yeah. I'm racking my brain for another one and nothing's really coming to mind. Yeah.
It doesn't exist. Without Googling it.
That subgenre does not exist.
I mean, Judge Dredd.
Even then, that's lighthearted.
Well, the first one,
one was lighthearted. The second superior one was not lighthearted.
The first one was lighthearted.
Yeah, in comparison, for sure.
And you had Rob Schneider as the number 2 in the movie. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh,
I meant to say that also. Going back to the cast, jumping in, there's a lull in the conversation. For me, this is. I think John Leguizamo is one of these underrated actors. I think he's an outstanding actor that just hasn't had his due. Like he hasn't had a role that really made him shine well as I think his full potential can carry.
Well, we don't talk about Bruno, so that's why.
Well, that's true too. He's a little hidden behind the walls. Anyway, but this movie, I think for me, this is what I consider his best role because he's in it. He's more lighthearted than a lot of his other ones. He's more enjoyable to watch, and he's in a lot of it. He's not like in Spawn. He's not. I mean, he does an excellent job in that, but he's not showcased as much as this, and a lot of his roles are very minor in comparison. So for me, this sticks out as, unfortunately, his best role.
Wow.
That is kind of sad.
I was blown away when I found out that was him in Spawn back in the day.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That tripped me out too.
Yeah. I mean, I like him in John Wick well enough, but I feel like he's fine. He's not an actor that I like, I want to see him in more things. I don't feel the same way, Paul, but I feel like that's a totally valid response to him. But I would love to hear Dustin's totally valid classic maker for Super Mario Brothers.
So I was torn between a couple, and you guys actually covered them both.
Oh, really? Okay.
The special effects of the movie. I loved the practical special effects, the explosion, Koopa's flamethrower. It's like this is not just CGI coming at us from every direction.
Right.
They were really crashing and flipping over cars. All that stuff.
Yeah.
This is so fun to see real things getting used and blown apart.
It felt real.
Yeah. And then I also thought you guys said the cast was perfect. I loved Koopa in this movie. Just you look at everyone who played their roles. Dennis Hopper. They said rest in peace, man. I thought they all played their role the way they were supposed to play it. Like the movie or not, I feel like they did what they were supposed to do.
Exactly.
You know who was great? The guy who played Scapelli. He was fantastic.
Scapelli. When he was a human or when he was a monkey?
Both.
The monkey.
I did think it was a cool. I didn't write this down, but I did think it was a cool seeding. How Scapelli beats them to the plumbing job at the beginning of the movie, and then that allows you to it makes more sense how they're able to muck with the plumbing that floods the site later on in the movie. So I thought that was just a nice.
You mean the people that they hired that wore Scapelli on their jumpsuits?
Exactly. Yes, those people.
Don't get me started on my dislike.
All right. Well, all right. Fine, guys. We will get there. But actually, you know what? Yeah, let's move on to. Oh, hold on. Sorry, guys. Looking at my notes, it may be a surprise, but I do have one more thing I liked that I wanted to mention, and that would be playing games with strangers. Playing Games with Strangers is a family-friendly actual play podcast where indie voice actors get together and play tabletop role-playing games. You can listen to the adventure unfold as they roll die, slay monsters, and have fun, all at playinggameswithstrangers.com.
But Francisco, according to the promos, this movie ain't no game.
You know what? Oh man, you're right. I guess that Playing Games with Strangers has nothing to do with this movie. Shucks.
Finally!
All right. Well, you know what does have something to do with this movie, Paul?
What?
Some trivia. How about that?
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right, here we go. Did you all realize that the set for Dino-hattan was built in an abandoned cement factory called the Idle Cement Factory in the woods outside of Wilmington, North Carolina? Set designs were adapted to the existing structure of the building, and this factory was also used as the Shredder and Foot Clan's hideout in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990, and Top Dollar's nightclub in The Crow from 1994. So my question to you guys is, if you were bad guy bosses, like mob bosses, or maybe a ninja squad boss like Shredder, where would you set up your headquarters? Like, would you have a front of a store? Would you go to like backwoods, a cement factory? What would you do? Let's start with Paul.
Well, obviously not this ideal cement factory, because that's where they'll know to look for me there. That's where all these bad guys are headed.
Good point.
So the ideal choice would be the Mushroom Kingdom. I'll set up my headquarters there.
You're gonna go to another dimension to set up your headquarters?
I'll never catch me there. Honestly, it was one of the weird things that you hear, like Las Vegas was created as a mob headquarters. Like, why would they go all the way out there? Where it seems like impractical, you know? That you have no resources around you, but you kind of make up your own law.
Yeah.
So yeah, out in the middle of nowhere sounds good to me.
Okay. So you're going to the middle of the nowhere of the U.S. or middle of the nowhere of Mushroom Kingdom?
Well, if I can, the Mushroom Kingdom.
All right.
Hopefully the mob isn't already out there. I just have to stay away from the sun chasing me all the time.
Mario's Italian. Who else is out there?
Oh my word.
Good point.
Dustin, how about you?
All right, I'm gonna go real off the wall here because as I was thinking about this, where would I set up my evil base? It may not be practical, but I can't think of one of these evil bases getting overthrown.
Ooh.
I'm gonna set up my evil base inside a volcano. I mean, Vader had his, castle base on that volcano planet. In the movie The Incredibles, Syndrome was in the volcano.
Yep.
And these guys didn't lose their fights in their home bases. They were all outside of their bases when they lost their fights. So I was like, I've got a power source according to the superhero stuff. You can just harness that lava, get all that power.
Hey, you should talk to the people of Pompeii, see how they feel about that.
No, see, they were outside of the volcano and it erupted on them.
I'm as long as you're inside, you're okay.
If that thing erupts, I'm still like, I'm good. We got it covered.
I did not know that. Interesting.
Fascinating.
How about you, Dallas?
All right. So mine, it's all right. I thought about this really hard. And I got two options in my head.
Ooh.
And they're similar, but they have very different reasonings. Both of them are restaurants.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
All right. So the first one is Arby's, because nobody goes to Arby's. Nobody's going to come there.
They don't want meats.
Who's going to eat now? How's Arby's still open?
They
Nobody
have
eats
good
there.
orange creamsicle shakes.
That parking lot is empty all the time. Ain't nobody come looking for my crew there. All right.
Hey,
so
two
Arby's is
sandwiches for $6. You're going to be flooded soon. All right.
Number two,
bring those prices down to 20 years ago and have some people there.
Number two, Popeye's chicken, because you ain't gonna fight with the staff. Cops gonna come in. We need to see your boss. Go away. Okay, we're out of here. I mean, it's fine. So Popeye's chicken or Arby's. Those are my options.
Wow.
What you do is you hire the people from Popeyes to run your Arby's.
Even better. Then it's locked down. Perfect.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, great trivia, Francisco.
Thank you, Paul.
Now that we've all had some trivial fun, let's find out what you, our awesome rewinders, had about Super Mario Bros. Period.
Right. David Gardner says a raptor Yoshi frightening Goombas removed the magic that was this movie geared for. Who is this movie geared for? Kids or adults? I don't know.
Kevin Joshua Burnham says, I still enjoyed it.
Nice. Jesse Cleva Vidal says, well, of course, now watching the movie, it really doesn't make any sense. But growing up watching this movie was amazing, and I loved it. Still do.
James Eames says, same here. As a kid, it was the coolest thing.
Nice. Mike Fraley says, I had a young adult from my church come up to me and say, you've got to watch this movie. It's amazing. He hadn't thought through the fact that he'd seen it as a kid and loved it. By the time the DVD was played through, and he had wished that he had not sullied those fond memories with a rewatch, it was not great.
Nathan James Norman says, complete objective disappointment. It was the first time I remember not liking a movie I saw in the theater.
Really? Oh.
I have watched it since on Riff Tracks.
The only way to fly.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, they had that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm going to check that out.
Stephen Forrester says, from what I've been told, I've been blessed by God to have never seen it.
And Jeremy Shield says, I went to the theater, got confused by what they were trying to do. Still had fun with it, watched it on video a few times, not planning to ever watch it again. Had some good actors, but a terrible adaptation.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about the terrible things that we thought were in this movie. Travis?
Worst woes.
Yes, let's get to our dislike section. And I'm going to start with Paul. What's one thing you disliked about Super Mario Brothers, period?
Oh, there's so many things in this movie that did not make sense. It's like, where to begin?
I'm shocked.
Like I said, those no, I'll save that for Dustin's. Let's talk about the portal.
Okay.
How do you fall through sideways for like 5 minutes, but then later you just step on back? How does, or even before that,
she pokes her head out, but shouldn't her body be all the way through? Yeah.
Right. How is Iggy or Spike carrying her and she's able to like poke back without?
Right.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Completely agree.
I think Mario actually fell up when he
he defied gravity.
Like he not only went upside down, but went up.
Yep.
I think there was like an air draft or something I've seen on the video game or something.
And he didn't jump; he fell.
He fell up.
Yes. He must have had the Tanuki suit or something on. We just didn't see. Oh my word. Very valid dislikes, Paul. Let's go to Dallas next. What's something you didn't like?
Sorry, I'm having...
He's cracking up. He can't handle it.
I just pictured like the only way they could have included that would be like the original furries. Like,
yeah, oh yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
if they just took that scene out, because it doesn't hold up well through the years with him flying through the chasms, it would have been fine. We would have got it.
Yep.
So this actually goes into my first dislike is the CG doesn't hold up. That whole scene of them falling through, it was just so weird. And then the other, like, again, they didn't do a lot of CG, which is what helped.
Yeah,
but where they did, it was rough. And while we're on the CG, this came out before Spawn.
Yeah,
but that had the same graphics. It makes me worry even more about Spawn now.
Oh, like to rewatch Spawn, you mean?
Yes, like I may pull Spawn out later and watch it because I'm pretty sure those are almost the exact same graphics pack they used. So, but the CG just didn't hold up the entire time. And I'm trying to put myself in a 1993 mindset of what CG looked like, and I just don't like.
This was advanced for that time.
But I don't think it was executed well for being advanced at the time.
There were a couple scenes that were executed well. The one with Daisy at the time, her face like morphing out like that, really hadn't been done to that degree. You saw it a little bit on Abyss, but this was even more clear.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Abyss, and I have high respect for the Abyss.
Right.
So maybe that's part of the problem.
Yeah. There were a couple things like with the trans morgification, whatever, the evolve, devolve, where they
where they
they morph
transform
their
the face.
heads. Yeah. There were a couple things that stood out for the time, but there's other things like when Mario's falling through the chasm. I remember in the theater going, "Oh, he's going into Return to Oz in the Gnome King's castle. This looks exactly like that." Like,
no,
yes.
I can echo the CGI on that. I mean, how much cooler would it have been in the end if Koopa came up as a practical T-Rex and not
that would have been
weird
great.
So I
CG
thought he
T-Rex that came in?
was. It looked kind of practically to me.
some of it was like,
okay.
Some of the in between stuff, he
Was
had like a face mask on.
Okay,
That
okay.
was practical, but Dustin's talking about like a full-on T-Rex you saw from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, because he comes out of his little container or whatever.
Yeah,
when they're
yeah.
like, he's like, blah! And I remember, I even remember as a kid going, "Is that supposed to be a T-Rex?" I as a kid. I don't think they nailed that.
Get
No.
Spielberg on the phone. Hey, you done with your T-Rex? We want to borrow it.
Can your T-Rex come out to play?
Wow. So that was your first dislike, Dustin? Is that right?
No, that was not. I was just echoing the dislike
Gotcha.
for CGI in there.
Well, what was yours then?
My first dislike was, who in their right mind would wear your work clothes to go sabotage somebody else's?
Yes, the Spicoli's or whatever their name was.
Scapelli or whatever. They're running away. Oh, it's Scapelli's guys because it's written big on my back as we're invading. And it's like, oh,
Well, they didn't think anyone was going to be down
and those
there.
weren't even the dumb guys. Iggy and they were the dumb guys, but it's just. It's like,
Apparently, anyone for hire is dumb. according to
What's funny is I didn't remember that at all until seeing it on this rewatch. It just screamed. It was like, who does that? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Well, and on that same note, in that same domain of that scene, I could not understand for the life of me. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I do have a way of sort of thinking through, but I was thinking when they sabotage the plumbing and it starts flooding the dinosaur thing, and then Daisy and Luigi walk or run all the way to wherever Luigi and Mario live,
across
and then
town,
go all the way back. I guess that might have been in their van, but it seems like that whole place should have been so filled with water by that time. However,
it went down the chasm that blew Mario up.
Yes, exactly. That's where I was thinking as I'm saying this. Oh, maybe that's where all the water went. But it just seems, I don't know. It seemed a little.
It
sus.
did seem weird.
Yeah, it seemed weird.
Yeah.
So that is my first dislike. Let's go back to Dustin. What's something else you disliked?
All right. I did not like the fact that in classic Mario lore, Mario has a thing for a princess. That's kind of like the thing. Mario rescues princess. He wants the kiss on the princess. And this movie completely flipped it to Luigi being the one for that. And I was just like, I didn't like it as a kid, and I didn't like it now. I was like,
Luigi's got to have a chance too. This isn't Peach they're after. This is Daisy.
Well, okay, then at least make Mario's girlfriend's name Peach. I think that would be great. Right? Just like
I don't even know if back then her name was Peach. I don't think that was established until
Which brings me to my dislike. My next one.
Okay. Go ahead, Paul.
Sorry, that's my sorry. I got confused. That was my tragic maker.
We'll wait.
I'll wait on that.
All right. Well, then what's something else you dislike, Paul?
I didn't like it.
Let's see. There's lots of things that didn't make sense. We've covered a lot of them. So just one off the top of my list is there's no way that Iggy and Spike, the two dudes that kidnapped the princess, would know that the plumbers took the rock. They can barely know how to tie their shoes, let alone see through a princess's body to see who took the rock across a chasm that apparently you have to fall through.
Fall up through.
Yes.
So, Iggy and Spike, as Bobo puts it, played by Fisher Stevens and the valet guy from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Thank you, Bobo.
Yes. You have the Indian guy from Short Circuit.
Short Circuit, yes.
Again, I am shrugging him mixed with the valet guy. What country do you think this is?
Well, I like how you brought that up. There's no way they'd know that. And that kind of plays into the whole, why does Koopa wait so stinking long to make them smarter?
Right?
Yeah, right.
Because he didn't evolve himself, which again doesn't make somebody like input all the knowledge into their brain just because they evolve.
It just expands their ability to retain that information and process it. So it's ridiculous.
Hopefully.
So you would think after maybe the second wrong idiot move, like, all right, let's use this machine to make them smarter. Not, you brought me this many wrong girls. You can't remember who's going there. Let's do this now that we're at crisis moment.
Right.
Right.
Well, the thing is, he evolved from a dinosaur and he looks like a human, which doesn't make sense that when you supposedly if you evolve from a monkey, you look like a human. If you evolve from a dinosaur, you're not going to look like a human. But
no,
in this
his hair is all in these like spiky rows. It's so dino-esque.
Opposable thumbs and still humanoid.
I'm glad you said it because I already said my 2 dislikes and that was on my list. But every stinking thing evolves to a human. The fungus, the dinosaurs, everything.
I know. What is this? A Star Trek show? All the aliens are humanoid. Come on.
Everything's human.
Oh my word. Dallas, what was inhuman about this movie for you?
For me, it was the terrible cuts all the way through the film. Like things just didn't make sense. And a lot of it's because they trimmed off so much to make this into a more reasonable length of a movie.
Yeah.
And like a great example is like when they're coming down into the cavern, like Mario's on one side and then they do a quick cut. This in the same moment, they're probably 2 feet further, and also Mario's on the other side of Luigi. And it's just like flip-flops back and forth a little bit. And then like there was a scene that we talked about in the pre-show, or was it, I don't know if it was pre-show or not, but like where it was in the de-evolutionizer, there was a dude that was turned into a blob.
Yeah.
And you missed that. And then there's a whole scene later where somebody's slipping on, there's Luke on the ground and everything like that. That's the blob. That was a person that he slipped on. You like there's no context for some of these things. It's because they just did these weird chops all the way through. And because they're just trying to shrink up the movie as much as they can.
Yeah.
And it was poorly executed, some of these cuts and some of the planning that went into it.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Then let's go with one more thing I just like before we get to our tragic makers. It bothered me so much, Luigi's character. I hate that he's like, I got a feeling, Mario, and they're late to their job of fixing the dishwasher or whatever it was.
I think he said they were there early.
Yeah,
but the Scapellis beat him. The person wanted to call the person wanted to call the Scapellis if they were on time.
I just want to know who calls and hires 3 different plumbers and says, I'll only pay the first one that shows up.
Yeah, I blame more the writing there because they got there early. Yeah, and you could thank Luigi for that, not hate him for that.
Okay, how do you know they got there early?
Because he says that.
He's going to say it. What, he's going to say, oh, you're right, Mario. We got here late because of my poor drive. No, of course he's going to say, oh, we got here early.
We got here early. You're lucky we got here alive. I think that was the exact.
That was the line.
Yeah. So Mario wasn't
if he was
affirming.
Late, Mario would have called him on it.
Yeah. Mario had no chill. He called out his issues, the things he did wrong. Mario would have been like, we're late, you kid.
All right, fine. Well, then even worse, you guys can't talk me out of this one, that when he's on the phone checking messages and there's this big leak somewhere, they need all the plumbers, they could have gotten this job, but he's like, oh, no messages, and hands the phone to Daisy. I'm like, what are you talking about? No messages.
Hey, Francisco.
Yes.
Put yourself in his shoes.
Yeah.
You're at a payphone. If you even, if you've ever used a payphone.
I know what a payphone is.
And your wife, who's not your wife yet, but she walks up and she looks like, hey, she needs help. And you look at her for the first time. Would you take that call or would you look at her and be like, here you go?
I'm sorry.
I know how I'd answer that question for my wife.
Here's it's bros before does, okay? Like does like a deer. So I would tell my brother, hey, we got a job. We got to go do it.
I know. I would say, why not both?
Well, yeah, you could do both. You could tell your brother, yes, that's an excellent point, Paul. You could do both. Say, yes, we got messages. There's this big leak over here, or this big
voicemail.
What was that?
Just go right. It was a voicemail. He could give her the phone, then go back to the message.
Yes, also that. So stuff like that just bothered me about his character.
Perfect. Boo hoo. Who is?
I mean, it's a flawed character.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
Yes,
what
but he
was
doesn't
gonna work
overcome those flaws.
No, but that's in
Nobody-
the sequel.
Nobody can relate to flawed characters in movies, right?
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Always got to be perfect. Like
Here-
you, Francisco.
In every way.
Well, I'm glad you guys are finally admitting it. Okay, good. We're making progress. Finally, good.
Professional skater, professional skateboarder.
Oh my gosh. Let's get to our tragic makers, guys. Let's start with Dustin. What did you hate most about this film?
I'm so glad you asked me first. My tragic maker for this film is it almost completely ignores its source material.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So much.
Amen.
Yes.
If you
Say it for the
change
rest of us, because that's mine.
If you
fine.
change the name of the characters,
Yeah.
no one would. This is not a Mario movie.
Yep,
I mean, like,
pretty
it's like
much.
the only thing that grounds it is Mario, Luigi, Koopa, and Toad and Yoshi, and you recognize the names, but and then the names even like naming the king Bowser and the original one Bowser and then the Koopa. I think in the original Mario, the book that came with it says Bowser, King of the Koopas, and so it's always been Bowser, but we've always called him King Koopa because in the original game it was Bowser, King of the Koopas. The movie made them two different people. You had King Bowser, who was a good guy, and then King Koopa. And so but it's just like the Goombas weren't Goombas. There were no turtles and shells getting thrown all over the place. There were no fire whirlies you're trying to run away from. You're running from flamethrowers. But I was like, you know what? This movie, if you take out the names, it's not Mario. All aside from the Babam that walks around and which I did like the Babam and everyone's freaking out. Babam!
No, I like that too. Yes,
but
I would have expected a bigger explosion.
Because I think when this movie came out, obviously since Yoshi's in it, Super Mario World was already out. So you have this incredible world of Mario 1, Mario 2, Mario 3, Super Mario World, and they just
ignore
they throw it out. They don't honor the source, and that drove me nuts.
Right. What's even more annoying is when you see the behind the scenes and the writers and the producers and the directors all agree that the Mario games themselves had no story for them to draw upon. What are they thinking? It's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
They've obviously got the wrong people to handle this.
Well, that's the thing is the people they got to handle. And from my understanding of the way this came out, this couple that came in and do everything, they had an idea for their own movie they wanted to do, but nobody would greenlight them. So they just took advantage of this opportunity to do a Mario movie and did their own thing. In fact, it wasn't until some financial executives showed up and they're walking around checking out this dystopian set going, well, this is strange. And look over and they're like, hey, why is there a strip club over here? You guys know this is supposed to be for kids. They're like, what? We don't know anything about that.
Interesting is that it gets worse, folks.
Oh, yeah. Are you going to go into your tragic maker now, Paul?
Buckle in, ladies and gentlemen.
No. The producer that got this, there were lots of companies, Paramount, Disney of all people, several other people wanted to make this movie, but they couldn't. But Nintendo kept saying no. One of the producer actually, sorry, before we get all these companies were meeting with Nintendo of America in California. So the producer said, forget that. I'm going to Japan, met with them and said, hey, I want to make this movie. And like, hey, well, why should we allow you? You want to do it for less money and then all these other people. And the guy said, well, I'm here and they're not. And they said, good point. Okay, it's yours. So then he was like, okay, I have this movie. What do I do with it? I don't know what to do. He hears these people, these two people from England who want to make their own movie, who give it this spin, like Dallas called it. And the producer said, hey, that sounds great. What their idea is to make it dark like Batman of 1989 to be like the Dark Mario or the Dark Knight kind of a thing. So they go ahead and make that, and then they start running out of money. And this is where everything gets
disintegrates, much like the particle effects in this movie.
And then so they have to call on another company to help them out financially. Disney of all people, again, comes in and rescues them and actually puts lighthearted stuff into it and overdoes adds more jokes, try to make it more family friendly. Like, what are you trying to do here?
Right.
So And unfortunately, it is like a mixture of almost all the genres. And you're like, what is going on? It's because the original people are like, oh, people don't like it because they took away our original story. Everyone that signed aboard wanted to do the original story.
Yeah.
And everyone that is like, oh, that's the worst. So you have all these different conflicting ideas on how this movie should be made. And so that's why everybody had, like, towards the end of it was having a terrible time because there was fights amongst everybody.
Gosh, that sounds so miserable.
And my last thing on the ignoring the source material.
Yes.
It drives me nuts that for 90% of this movie, up until they put on their suits, like, all right, you're wearing red, you're wearing green.
Which was cool. I like that moment.
Red, the whole movie.
Yeah, they did not wear the right colors throughout.
Not just that, but Luigi is wearing a red outfit the whole stinking movie until they put on their video game uniforms. I think Mario's even wearing a green tinted jacket. It's like, you guys, like, this is wow.
It's dystopian. It's like the Dark Knight of Mario, Dustin.
I think someone came on, it's like someone from Disney, and said, hey, did you guys play the game? You know those suits are supposed to be reversed.
And they're like, hey, quick, switch that.
The guy in red is in love with the princess, though. Yeah, but it's the wrong guy in red. You know?
It's the wrong princess.
Okay, that's I could go on and on about how they botched the source material.
Yeah,
that's an excellent tragedy maker, though, Dustin. I mean,
the Goombas didn't look like Goombas. They were great, cool.
Okay, leave some for other people. Dallas,
go for it.
Dallas, what's your tragedy maker?
Mine's just in the same vein of just like they ignored everything. What really ticks me off is that this is a.
It's a beloved franchise, is what
it's a beloved franchise, and it is marketed. It was, like it or not, it was marketed for families and kids to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I went and saw this movie in theaters with my dad and my sister as a kid, and so like this is 1993, so I was like 9 years old, I think, about that time frame, and so now, did I enjoy it? Yes, I had fun with it.
Right.
Granted, at 7 years old, I was watching Terminator. So this was like in RoboCop.
This is lighthearted Terminator.
This is lighthearted Terminator RoboCop for me, man.
Yeah.
You know, we're knocking it out. But at the same time, as a functional adult, I'm thinking back and I'm going, I'm not going to bring a 5-year-old to see this movie.
Why not?
You know, there's just a lot of things that took place. And if they had continued on with their vision they had, and kept the name Super Mario on it, that would have really just rocked. And I understand, hey, there's this whole thing called rating system now, so you should read the ratings. And yes, I agree. I'm one of those ones who's like, what's the rating on that sucker? Right. But I know, working at Hollywood Video forever and a day, I know people don't. And I know what happens to employees when they get cussed out for not warning parents to read things.
Yeah.
So, no, your 5-year-old shouldn't be playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Any of them.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest. It was just that they took a franchise that it is at its core a family experience.
Yeah.
And they just threw it away, spat on it.
Yeah.
The script was rewritten several times. The first one, they said it was too family friendly. It was like for 6-year-olds, and I was like, well, that sounds amazing if you animate it, like compared to what this is.
yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm. I don't mind pushing a little bit, making it a little bit older. That's fine. But what they did and how they just removed, like what Dustin was saying, all the source material, anything recognizable, we have to go, oh, okay, that's supposed to be the fireballs. Oh, okay, those are that's why they jump.
Yeah.
And
there's a human that looks like Mario. We got it.
Like, just grab a fat guy and throw a mustache on his face. It's good to go.
Yeah.
I could be Mario. I just got to shave.
I agree, though. I mean, Mario always has been and still is the face of Nintendo.
Yeah, absolutely.
They put out a new system. What's the launch? The next Mario game. They gear up for, what are we going to do this quarter? We're going to release the next Mario, and it's everywhere. So he was and still is the face of the franchise, the brand. Of Nintendo.
Yeah, the brand. Yes,
and this movie, even back in '93, had an opportunity to capitalize on. Everybody knows and loves and will go see Mario, and the fact that it lost $20 million in the box office, just when you would think that name alone is going to be like a Mario movie. were in. Like people will flock to see this, but it was so bad. Word of mouth was just like, nope, skip that.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think there was a reason why after, like, because there was this, then there was Double Dragon, and then Street Fighter, and then Mortal Kombat, and then minus the Mortal Kombat, because I was scared towards other people. You notice that the quote unquote kid friendly properties just didn't come back to theaters.
Yeah.
like Nintendo's like, we're pulling out. So much so that, like, in the modern Mario, Nintendo was super involved.
Yeah.
Like, there were some things they
As
wanted
they should have been in this one to begin with, but
exactly. But
well,
like
they quoted and said, look, we'll focus on the games. It's kind of like they outsource like t-shirts and all these other things. They treated this like that.
They're like, oh, you're good at movies? Okay, we'll trust you with this. But
exactly.
Well, what's funny is you mentioned Double Dragon, and I think when I was talking with Paul and Francisco about, like, hey, you're still geared up to, do this movie with us, and so I hadn't rewatched it yet, but I think one of my comments to you guys was, in our memories, I was like, I remember this being a horrible movie, only not as bad as the Double Dragon. That was worse. That was so much worse.
Yeah, this isn't the worst movie of all time, but we're not there yet.
Well, Paul, give us what your tragic maker is. Are we there yet?
I've been talking about my tragic
maker. Okay, if there's anything more you want to expand on it.
No, just the fact that they didn't use the source material.
Yeah.
And the people that they said looked and researched and played the games to write the story, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Not sure what they played.
Totally agree.
Look how they massacred my boy.
It's like they were like, let's play D&D with Mario names.
Yeah, it's almost like that. Yes, exactly. So my tragic maker is kind of a collection that can be summed up in one word: why? And I think the answer is, we've sort of gone over it, is that they didn't care about the source material. So I'll just focus on three things, though, that are my biggest whys in this movie. Why would there be a plumber alert? Like, are plumbers
because they
really
have the Rock?
But there's a official plumber alert. Are plumbers always attacking Koopa or something?
King Koopa put it out, said he has that one policeman he talks to that happened to be the guy that took in the brothers. Look, the city, the whole country, the whole planet is just like 4 city blocks. There's only a few people. It's not going to take much to create a plumber alert.
All right, fine. Why would Iggy and Spike betray Koopa? I don't get that. They become all of a sudden communist or something. The proletariat, will rebel. Blah, 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 blah.
They became smart and realized dictatorship. They realized communism fails.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, that's fair, but it's so. It just didn't make sense. Why would they betray him? Which, again, Iggy and Spike are related, are cousins to Koopa, so you think they'd have that familial bond.
Not his kids, ignoring the source material, but his cousin.
I don't know about you, Francisco, but I've been around some dysfunctional families.
All right, fine. Okay, that's a fair point.
Wait, in your line of work? What?
Then they should have been against him from the beginning.
But they weren't smart enough.
They weren't smart enough. They were so dumb and just under the fear of him.
Then why were they helping him after they turned smart to begin with? They should have immediately gone against him.
Look, you're the one that said that getting smart, evolving doesn't mean you're just automatically smart. You absorb it.
Paul said that.
Right.
All right, and my last why,
brains the size of a walnut, according to dinosaur stuff. So come on.
My last why.
I like how we're dismantling all your arguments.
Yeah, appreciate that, guys.
Classic maker.
We're turning all your tragic makers into classic makers.
It's Mario magic. Why does them killing Koopa somehow allow Bowser, the king, Mushroom Kingdom king, to unevolve or to evolve back into his normal king, Lance Henriksen self?
And how did it from all over the city come into him, or did he just have like 10,000 arms and legs that were just automatically chopped off, and now he has 2?
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't. If he was de-evolved into Fungus, then it seems like it would take an evolving machine to get him back into the king. Why does he magically become that way?
You're absolutely right, Francisco. I have no rebuttal against that. But I think it's sad that of all things is your tragic maker of this movie.
I just want to know if his fungus was holding things together anywhere. Did those things all of a sudden start crashing and burning?
Right?
Yeah.
It was wrapped up in a lot of things.
Yeah,
throughout the
yeah.
entirety of the
He's
movie.
back, and unfortunately, 100,000 people has died because their homes fell apart. But he's back.
He's
Half
back
the
now.
city's destroyed, but hey, it's easier to rule a smaller number of people.
All right. Well, those are all the things we didn't like about this movie. But now it's time. Now that we've entered all our firing trajectories into the firing computer, Travis, do you have a firing solution for us?
Firing solution complete. Salvo authority accepted. Ratings prepared to launch.
Hey, who had the salvo authority? Was that Mario and Luigi or Bowser?
I don't know, but as Bobo likes to say, Super Mario Brothers is brought to you by the letter Y. Lots of Y in this movie. So now it's time for our final rating. Do we rate Super Mario Brothers Dot from 1993 a classic? We'd recommend anyone go see this movie, whether or not they've seen it before. A nostalgic, it's worth a rewatch if you remember it fondly as watching it as a kid or young adult. Yeah, definitely take some time to rewatch it. It'll be a fun nostalgia trip. But if you've never seen it before, keep it that way. Or do we rate it a tragic? It's worth no one's time today. If you've never seen it before, keep it that way. And if you have seen it before, don't sully any good memories you have of it with a rewatch. Let's begin with Dustin. You had predicted tragic. Where did this movie end up for you?
All right. So again, I was trying to figure out when it was over. I was like, all right, what would I do? Because we can all agree the movie, I mean, it had so many faults, so many. But at the same time, I have so much fun talking about this movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
With
interesting.
people that have
Okay.
seen this movie, and even the fun things we like, the things that made it so bad. So for me, I'm gonna change it to nostalgic.
Really?
Oh,
Wow.
I
Okay.
am, because, like I said, I went back and watched it, and I had fun remembering how bad this was. Writing down the notes, even of like, oh my gosh, that was so bad. And even now, as we talk about it, it's like, this was so bad. It's hilarious to talk about. And I would say, if anyone, if you've never seen it, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. But if you have seen it, if you have memories of it, whether they're good or bad, watching it again and then talking with somebody about the movie is going to be fun. And so for that reason, I would say nostalgic. It's worth rewatching and have fun with somebody talking about how bad it is.
That's awesome.
So would you probably, not having watched it, it sounds like you might recommend a Riff Tracks version or something.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it before, I would say don't go back
don't
and
watch it.
Watch it and try and relate with someone who grew up with it. Like I know I was also, seeing it in the theaters. I think I was 8 or 9 years old. So same age as you, and just I can look back at that and think fondly of how much fun I had as a kid and how bad it was. Think about it later. So all those things come into play. So all that to say, I would say nostalgic for the sake of have fun making fun of it later.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Dallas, you had predicted nostalgic. Where did it end up for you?
Yeah. Man, it's not a good movie.
What? You're blowing my mind here.
Terrible movie. I've been racking my brain on what did I rate this on the bottom shelf, because I do not remember.
You're not on the bottom shelf. You're on Retro Rewind Podcast.
I know.
He's just giving himself plugs. It's all good.
But because the reality is, like, a lot of what we do, we kind of mirror you guys a little bit in some of the stuff we talk about. And
what are your ratings on the bomb shelf? You've mentioned it a couple of times, just so people know if they want to go check out you guys.
Yeah, so we purposely watch terrible movies, which is why we talked about this movie. And so Top Shelf is like, oh, this is actually a good movie. You should, I want to get it on DVD. I want to own this. It's actually a good one. Middle Shelf is like, it's not so good. It's not great. I can see why people don't like it. Bottom Shelf is like, oh God, no, this is bad. Like, this is not good. Avoid it if you can. I will actively tell you, do not watch this. And then you have the magical layer of the dumpster fire, where movies just go to die and they are erased from existence. And to our understanding, no film has ever been to the dumpster fire. We just never heard of any movie went to the movies.
Well, yeah, because it's erased from existence, so you wouldn't know.
I see. Okay.
There's this mythical movie called Avatar, not the blue people, something else. Supposedly there was a movie and it's in there. It was the last one.
Last Airbender.
And isn't Monty Python and the Holy Grail in there too, I think?
No, that's actually a top shelf. And so anyways, but for me, I say that because again, I just talked about this movie not too long ago on the bottom shelf, which is why I'm going, where was I with that?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to go, because different seasons, different time frames, and different stuff. But like what Dustin was saying, I have so much fun talking about this movie with people who get it, who understand it. And if you can, I said this earlier, if you can remove the moniker of Mario, like in your head go, this isn't a Mario movie. I'm watching a lighthearted, dumb, dystopian film.
It's an homage to Mario.
It's an homage.
Successor.
And so you can enjoy it. You can genuinely have fun.
Can you though?
I mean, I laughed. I smiled the entire time. Like literally, I smiled the entire time there in the film.
Oh, that's
I laughed.
cool.
The dancing Goombas.
Yeah.
It's always in my. I have been on elevators with like the music playing and just been like.
I'm shaking my head at you guys. I can't believe that's something you guys like. Oh my gosh.
That scene.
And there's just different things that pop up in my life, and I'm just like, I remember these things. So I'm gonna keep it at it's not a classic, at all, but I think it's a nostalgic film.
Nostalgic,
and,
all right.
So yeah,
very fair. Before we get to me and Paul's ratings, we like to go out to you, the Reflux Capacitors, who make this podcast possible. Thank you for all your support. You get to rate these movies as well and have a voice. And collectively, you rated this film tragic. So the first tragic of the night.
I doubt any of them watched it before giving that rating.
We asked people if you've seen the last couple of years to vote. Otherwise, probably not.
Couple can be two. Couple means two.
Exactly. Couple does mean two. Thank you, Paul. But Paul, you had predicted nostalgic as well.
Yes.
Where did it end up for you?
So when talking with people, there seems to be a real affinity for people who saw this when they were young, between a certain time frame, and they love it. They have nostalgic feelings for it. They think it's great. I enjoy some scenes in this. I enjoy like the Goombas in the elevator. I'm one of those people that love that. I also enjoy like the dinner scene. I think they have some great expressions, there's some good acting in that.
Mario, his girlfriend, that's not Peach, and Daisy and Luigi are having dinner.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some great interaction
in that dinner too.
Yeah. What was that?
So she's still in her work clothes at that nice dinner.
Which is a little odd, but all right.
Yeah. But anyway, there are moments that I enjoyed and smiled and laughed like Dallas. But I also agree that it's a terrible movie. But and I purposely may not ever watch this movie again.
Yes.
But because of those people who love this movie, I want to honor them and say it's nostalgic. Because if you have seen it before, you may enjoy rewatching it again. You may not. I don't know. But so I'll say nostalgic.
Okay.
But if you haven't seen it, don't see it.
Nostalgic. So what we've learned tonight is I'm podcasting with a bunch of saps. A bunch of saps that can't give you, the good listener, the hard truths that this is a tragic movie. No one should go see this.
You didn't even laugh in the elevator dancing scene when the Goombas faced each other and started dancing.
They're holding each other.
That was the icing on the cake. When they all turned to face each other and kept going, I was like, yeah.
No, I'm with Francisco. That made it worse.
The best part of that was that they're doing that, and all of a sudden the doors open up, and the head Goomba is there, and he's like, and they're like,
that part was kind of fun, but yeah. I rate this a tragic film. I would not watch it again. I'm glad to talk about it with anyone that wants to, but yeah, it's not a movie for me. So, but according to the Retro Rewind podcast, we rate Super Mario Brothers, period, a disputed nostalgic film. So we'd recommend, if you enjoyed it as a kid or a young adult, go watch it again. But if you've never seen it before, keep it that way. But now it's time to stick around. 1993. and see where you can find us all on the interwebs. Travis?
Return to 20XX overridden. Comsats broadcasting while awaiting return coordinates.
No gaming in God. I didn't walk the dinosaur when I watched Super Mario Bros.
That's a fun song. I like that song.
It's fine. All right. So it feels good to be sticking around 1993, but we wouldn't have been able to go travel to 1993 to begin with if it weren't for our amazing reflex capacitors, namely Deborah Powers, Geek Devotions. Oh, you're right here. Drew of the Cellcast, Ashley Ruiz, Kennethan, Fabulous Lomax, Rosie Lomax, That's Our Bobo, D Tungsten, Dale, Mr. Lost, Gerald Hafner, Cool Deluxe, Dustin Warford. Oh, you're here too! Woohoo! Redeemed Otaku, in addition to 2 other awesome patrons as well. Thank you all so much for keeping the gigawatts coming. And if you want to help keep us flying and get bonus content for your generosity, head over to retrorewindpodcast.com/support to start.
Oh no, I'm scared.
No need to be scared because this stream is sponsored by PaulJPowers.com.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Wahoo!
Say, Francisco, are there any ways that people don't have to spend all their coin to support the show?
Actually, yes, Paul. You probably enjoyed this episode if you made it this far. So if you aren't driving, tap the share icon in your podcast player for this episode and send it to a friend saying, I know you like Super Mario Brothers, or maybe you were a fan of it as a kid, so I thought you might like this podcast on it.
Great. And I'll bet they'll thank you for it.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah. And speaking of thank you, people, we also want to give a big Mushroom Kingdom hug to Dustin Warford and Dallas Mora for supporting us with their thoughts about Super Mario Bros. Period. And I like to go in alphabetical order. So we'll start with Dallas, because even though you're both
DA comes before DU. Yes.
Yes. All right. So, Dallas, where can people find you online? Is there anything cool you got going on that people should know about?
Yeah, you can find us at geekdevotions.com, which is the kind of the central hub for everything we do at Geek Devotions, where we take geek culture and we let people know their love through weekly devotionals on YouTube, and then a variety of podcasts, including The Bottom Shelf, where we review terrible movies, and We Read Allegedly, which is where we review books, and hopefully coming up in the next month or so, more of the Gundam Watch, where we review Mobile Suit Gundam and various other fun things. And so yeah, geekdevotions.com.
I really love the guy that you have playing General Romeo on the Gundam Watch. He's great. I think you should start paying him big bucks, I think.
He's talented.
Does he have a Cajun accent?
He does not.
He
does have a Patreon.
He may have a Cajun accent. You never know.
Oh, we know he don't.
And Dustin, thank you so much for coming aboard. How can people find you online? Is there anything cool you got going on?
Yeah, you can find me on 6 episodes of the Retro Rewind podcast. Indeed. Movies that are so super fun. You can also, I don't have any special podcasts or anything that I do separately, but I'm a pastor of a church and we stream every service. So
nice.
Celebration, CC Puyallup, kind of hard to spell, but CC Puyallup. It's the city I live in, Puyallup.com. And my sermons and stuff are all on there. Love what I do, pastoring the church up in this community. And then I also have a Instagram handle. I'm called Ghetto Kids Preacher because I spent 13 years as a kids pastor. So that's just been my handle for a while.
I do.
And I'm also on Facebook.
Nice.
Very, very cool. Thank you again so much, Dustin, Dallas, and my awesome, not so much a plumber, but awesome friend Paul, and all you rewinders, new and old, for another fun voyage.
You making fun of my plumbing skills?
Do you have plumbing skills?
I've been known to fix a few things.
All right. I withdraw my plumbing comment.
Well, you're welcome. And you can find me, PaulJPowers.com, at PaulJPowers.com.
Where apparently you can get plumbing services. It's amazing. And you can find...
Whoa. Hey, well, you know what? For the right price. Yeah.
You'll get some sort of service.
Yeah.
You got a toilet that's constantly running, just needs to jiggle the handle? Call Paul. Pay him $1,000. He'll jiggle that handle for you. That's perfect.
Satisfaction not guaranteed.
But you can find me on our Discord for show announcements or just to say hi. You can join us there at retrorewindpodcast.com/discord. And you can also check out the card game I'm designing called Junkyard Juggernauts at junkyardjuggernauts.com.
I'll plug that as well. That's a fun game to be testing with you guys. But no, just I'll shout out being part of the testing crew for that. I have a lot of fun. That's a great game.
Thank you so much.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box, a curated collection of podcasts, videos, and articles that will provide you a balanced meal of content. You will find culture celebrated for its past and future, satirized for its extremes, explored in study, and created anew in story. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
As Toad just said, we are now part of the Culture Box Media. Hold on, I gotta dance here. As we're swaying. All right, I gotta turn the... Sorry. We are now part of the Culture Box Media Network. Find all the shows unpacking truth, story, comedy, and geekery at culturebox.media.
I'm not going to lie. I'm going to play just that one clip of the movie before I go to bed.
It's a great song.
Scene.
My gosh.
Scene of the night.
Well, thank you, EXO, and thank you all for listening. Whether or not you're dancing or smiling at that part of the movie, we pray you are more joyful today than when you first hit play. But like a Pokemon, we gotta catch you all for the next episode of the Retro Rewind Podcast.
Rewinders of the Lost Pod mission complete. Review audio ship's logs for more details.
Come on, girls, let's go. Who are you? Luigi Mario. Oh, you got a problem with that?
I don't got a problem.
Let's go. Okay, come on, let's go.
There's an alternate ending if you want.
No, I thought that was great.
No, I like this one too.
You realize what our society has become?
Yeah, because feeling you're an automatic pilot, you're going through the motions like waves in the ocean.
That life is a series of brainless notions, and you want to feel something more than empty emotion.
Well, we met two plumbers
who had an idea.
They showed us the way
And the new frontier.
Mario,
and Luigi.
They know what's right.
We gotta take a stand and put up a fight.
Well, stop and
think this through.
It's time to get rid of
you know who. A radical development is taking place. And Spike will set the pace. Goofa! The party Goofa! The Goofa Goofa! It's Brian Shea with the brand new game.
Is he still going?
Yeah.
It was a long scene in the movie.
Can you imagine trying to memorize?
Shut us down.
Can you imagine trying to memorize this? And it goes on, and then they cut it. It's probably one of the best.